The debt ceiling deal negotiated between President Biden and Speaker McCarthy has major implications for the U.S. economy and national security. In this section, we will explore how the deal would affect defense spending, environmental permitting, work requirements, and tax enforcement. First, let's look at defense spending. The deal would increase the total defense budget to $886 billion in 2024, matching Biden's proposal. This is a 3% increase from the current level of $858 billion. The White House says this increase is necessary to modernize the military and counter threats from China and Russia. However, some Republicans and Democrats have criticized the deal for being too generous to the Pentagon and not addressing waste and fraud. Second, let's examine environmental permitting. The deal would impose new limits on how much federal agencies can spend on environmental reviews and approvals for infrastructure projects. The White House says this would speed up the delivery of critical projects and create jobs. However, some environmental groups and Democrats have warned that the deal would undermine environmental protections and public participation. Third, let's discuss work requirements. The deal would reinstate work requirements for certain low-income Americans who receive benefits such as food stamps and Medicaid. The White House says this would encourage work and reduce dependency. However, some anti-poverty advocates and Democrats have argued that the deal would harm vulnerable people and increase hardship. Fourth, let's talk about tax enforcement. The deal would reduce the funding for the Internal Revenue Service that was allocated in last year's Inflation Reduction Act. The White House says this would not affect the IRS's ability to crack down on tax evasion by wealthy Americans, since the funding was spread over 10 years. However, some progressive groups and Democrats have claimed that the deal would weaken the IRS and cost the government billions in lost revenue. As you can see, the debt ceiling deal is not just about avoiding a default. It is also about shaping the future of the U.S. economy and national security. In the next section, we will look at how the deal could impact inflation, interest rates, and growth. The debt ceiling is the legal limit on how much the federal government can borrow to pay its bills. If Congress does not raise the debt ceiling by June 5, 2023, the Treasury Department will run out of money and will not be able to meet its obligations. This could have serious consequences for millions of Americans who rely on Social Security and Medicare benefits, as well as other government programs. Social Security and Medicare are two of the largest and most popular programs that the federal government runs. They provide income and health insurance to about 65 million retirees, disabled people, and their families. Together, they account for about 40% of federal spending. If the debt ceiling is not raised, the government will have to prioritize which payments to make and which to delay or skip. This could mean that Social Security and Medicare beneficiaries may not receive their full or timely benefits. According to some estimates, Social Security benefits could be reduced by 20% or more if the debt ceiling is breached. This would be devastating for many seniors who depend on Social Security as their main source of income. According to the Social Security Administration, about half of elderly beneficiaries rely on Social Security for 50% or more of their income, and about 1 in 4 rely on it for 90% or more of their income. A cut in benefits could push millions of seniors into poverty and hardship. Medicare payments could also be delayed or reduced if the debt ceiling is not raised. This could affect hospitals, doctors, and other healthcare providers who treat Medicare patients. They may not get reimbursed by the government for their services, which could force them to cut staff, reduce services, or even close down. This could jeopardize access to quality health care for millions of seniors and people with disabilities. Other government programs that help low-income Americans could also be affected by the debt ceiling crisis. For example, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, provides food assistance to about 40 million people. The Child Tax Credit, CTC, provides monthly payments to about 35 million families with children. Both programs could be suspended or reduced if the government runs out of money. The debt ceiling crisis could also have broader impacts on the economy and national security. A default on the national debt could trigger a financial crisis, a recession, or a global meltdown. It could also undermine America's credibility in leadership in the world, as well as its ability to defend itself and its allies. In short, breaching the debt ceiling could cook up a national security crisis by endangering the well-being of millions of Americans who depend on Social Security and Medicare benefits, as well as other government programs. It could also threaten the stability and prosperity of the nation and the world. That is why it is imperative that Congress acts swiftly and responsibly to raise the debt ceiling and avoid a default.